At my 20-week scan, I found out that my baby girl had hypoplastic left heart syndrome. I went with the termination because the idea of letting my baby girl suffer and die slowly was abhorrent to me. I had a few appointments between then and my termination, and every time I had to pass by the protesters. They made me feel like a monster.
This is just one of the stories Alice read out today on behalf of women who faced anti-abortion protesters. She spoke to us about her own experience back in 2020.
Just their presence, obviously it's a small street, being 6 people there, it's very hard to ignore.
Because of your wickedness, because of your sinfulness.
This is the kind of thing people like Alice are coming up against when they go for treatment. And today they had a chance to speak to the First Minister about it.
We heard as well from healthcare providers, they were talking about their patients, and I think just to have this kind of cross support, there's people from Ireland there, you know, it's definitely quite surreal, I think. You know, they started off a small organisation in university that we just started because we saw something that we were really unhappy with.
We wouldn't tolerate this if it was about access to any other form of healthcare.
Today's summit discussed the idea of imposing buffer zones around abortion clinics and other issues around women's healthcare.
There's no doubt in my mind, and this was reinforced by the discussions today, that we need to find a national legislative solution to this. There are some hurdles to overcome, and in the short term we need to work with local authorities and with the police to try to ensure that women are able to access healthcare free of intimidation and harassment.
Warm words are wonderful, but they're not going to solve the problem. And we've had this time and time again in Westminster and, you know, for a long time in Belfast. We're working with Gillian Mackay on her private members bill on this, and I think that having that legislation is essential. But in the meantime, there really needs to be some action.
Last week, US states were given the freedom to make abortion illegal, fueling the debate here and strengthening the resolve of campaigners.
Women's rights, women's reproductive rights are under threat across the world, particularly what's happening in America. And we are particularly concerned about women who have been raped, who are accessing services, for example at Sandyford, as a result of being raped and having to walk past these protesters. It's intolerable and the government must act, and I do welcome the First Minister's commitment to be looking at some concrete action.
But pro-life campaigners say they've been excluded from today's debate.
SPUC was denied access to the summit, and despite the fact that campaigners in favour of buffer zones will be in attendance. So it does seem that the First Minister and others are refusing to engage with pro-life people.
For Alice, though, today is cause for optimism.
It definitely feels like I've turned it around into something really positive.